For the 3 minutes at the beginning, I'll approach at 20 seconds. So you have 20 seconds left in your introduction, which you have 3 minutes for. So, first up, Mrs. Amantri.
Thank you, John. Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Amantri. I'm really happy to be here tonight. I want to thank Kelly Curtis Hood, John Myers, the West Charlotte County Conservative Club, all for having us here tonight. I'm very honored to have some members of the Englewood community who are supporting me. It means a lot that I have their trust. I've been here for 35 years. I've built 2 businesses here. I've been a community leader. I've volunteered here for the last 35 years. I've also been a school board member, and now I'm running for county commission. The most important thing you need to know about me is that I have raised my family here with my husband, Jim. There's my daughter back there. And we are invested in this community. I care deeply about what the future of this community and what Charlotte County looks like for the next generation. Charlotte County is at a crossroads. Over the last 5 years, we've seen this budget double. We know that our roads are strained, our water capacity is strained, our citizens are feeling the strain of the property taxes. I've been in our schools every single day. I see the challenges that our working families are facing. I've run 2 businesses where I've signed the front of a paycheck for over 20 years. And I know what it means to balance a budget the same way that you do in your house. And we need somebody who's going to apply that same fiscal conservatism to the Charlotte County budget and think about what the future of this county looks like. Tonight I'm going to ask to earn your vote and to earn your trust, and I promise if you give me that I will be fighting for you every single day from Englewood to Punta Gorda. Once again, I thank you all for being here.
Next introduction is Mr. Deutsch.
I thought you told us to sit, so I'm following the rules. My name is Stephen R. Deutsch, and I think most of you know me. I've been on the commission for a few years, and I've dedicated my life to public service. And I'm sort of proud about what I've done, because what comes first to me is serving this community and serving Charlotte County. When I look at the budget, I look at the taxpayers first. That's why I put in to cut $10 million out of our budget last year, because I found waste and overspending there. And in addition to that, I voted against the water rate increase. I had felt that it was time, particularly with the floods and the storms that we went through the last couple of years, that we sort of kind of needed a break. I'm sort of proud of the fact that I know this is a part-time job, and that's what it's supposed to be. However, thanks to enlisting in the military, I learned to do things a little bit different. And the oath that I take, and I took when I was sworn in as county commissioner, in a lot of ways was very similar to the oath that I took when I enlisted in the military. And that's the way that I've approached this job. I've given it my all. It's been my #1 priority. I would match my work ethic against anyone else that I can think of or know in government today. I have never ever missed a meeting. I have never ever missed a vote in my entire life. I was the commissioner, I said it and I'll say it again, I wanted to take $10 million out of the budget. I voted against the water rate increase because I felt we did not need it. I'll match my experience is unmatched. I've been blessed by a rather healthy life, and the things that I've had an opportunity to do in my life have really been beyond comprehension in terms of being a city and town planner, a housing authority director, and having amazing experience to prepare me for the county commission. My academic experience, somehow the feds goofed up, and you veterans know that. I never got the GI Bill, even though I spent 6 years in the military, but I ended up getting my undergraduate degree and 2 graduate degrees, and I'm very proud of that because it enables me to serve you. Last comment, I got 20 seconds. Someone said this to me and I think it rings a bell. I am probably the only non-incumbent incumbent. Because I'm not there to be part of the old boys gang. I'm there to represent you, the people of Charlotte County, and that's what I work to do every day. Thank you, and thank you guys for having us.
All right, next up will be Mr. Fleming.
Thank you. I also want to thank John, and I want to thank the Board of West County. I am going to give you some answers that are going to be very different than the other people up here. This is what I bring to you, the citizens. My background, first and foremost, I am a first-time candidate for office. I've never served before, but I believe public service, as far as an elected official, is the most beneficial and important thing a citizen can ever do. So what do I bring to the table? I bring public service, background in law enforcement, background in education, and I consider myself the perfect grassroots candidate. I was born and raised in the Bronx to a family who introduced me the first time politics through Ronald Reagan. I believe firmly in government that is limited and that government helps residents. I worked 28 years in the New York City Police Department as a narcotics detective and worked organized crime. My wife Suzanne and I moved here in 2017, and since that time I've been involved with community advocacy through a community coalition called the Bernstall Corridor Coalition. Since I'm representing District 2, my answers are going to be related to South County, to Punta Gorda. The coalition was formed to provide an outreach for the residents of South County. There had not been any counter push by residents when it comes to development. I am going to tell you, you are in a losing battle. What is happening now is the county has put forth a proposition, which is simply this: approve now and pay later. You, ladies and gentlemen, are subsidizing development. What I tell you is this: we can't stop development, but the commissioners and county government can manage it. That is what has not happened in this county. You pay some of the highest utility bills in the state, while developers pay some of the lowest fees. Our impact fees only go to transportation. Everything about the budget and how it is grown is because you are spending too much money and developers are getting way too much. So I look forward to speaking, listening to the candidates, and again, thank you for having me here.
All right, and also for introduction, Mr. Melton.
Let's go.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Melton. I'm running for District 4, no party affiliation. Just a little background about myself. I'm born and raised here in Cape Hayes, Inglewood area. Graduated from Lemon Bay in 2003. Went on to USF to get my civil engineering degree. Graduated 2007, and then proceeded to experience the first of a lifetime, many lifetimes of a job market, worst job market, 2008, I believe many people had experienced in their lifetime, but managed to find a job in Tampa, and just, oh, sorry, that was kind of distracting. Yeah,
That's why we do it.
That's okay. So I went on to get my engineering degree in USF, and then came back here once I knew it was time to reestablish my roots, my hometown, because the whole reason for going to college was to ultimately come back to my hometown and help service the community that they gave me so much. And so I did that. I am the owner and operator of Enterprise Engineering here locally. We do residential engineering services, one-stop shop, anything you could possibly imagine. And through that, I've learned the struggles that a lot of people deal with, mostly with the recent storm that has impacted so many of our lives. the battle between homeowner and insurance, and the dichotomy that kind of exists between our building code and the requirements to build that I believe puts undue pressure on housing costs, in addition to permitting regulations and things like that that increase the challenge. And so I'm hoping that my background in these things are going to be able to help the commission better understand the demands that developers are placing on our community and the limited resources that we have here. A few people have already spoken about the struggles of infrastructure, water and wastewater, but also too the ecological damage, right? I think a lot of us have been here long enough to remember how beautiful things used to be. They certainly are beautiful still by most standards, but I believe Florida and specifically Inglewood in general, the Charlotte County area, we should hold ourselves to a higher standard because a lot of the other pristine areas have already been irreparably impacted, and we are one of the few areas that still has something to defend. And so, in conclusion, my background, my technical skills, and my family-oriented nature, I believe, are some of the strongest things that I can bring to the table. And secondarily, I'm already kind of connected at the county level. I've served 8 years as a member, 2 as chairman, 2 as vice chair on the Construction Industry Licensing Board, where we deal with contractors who take advantage of local community members. And so the next step to the commission. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you to all 4 candidates for those. We're going to move on to the first question. Reminder, you have 2 minutes to answer the question, and when I tap you on your shoulder, you have 10 seconds left. It was 20 seconds for the beginning, 10 seconds for each question. All right, first question. If elected or re-elected, will you commit to no new taxes? We've got 2 minutes. Mr. Fleming's going to go first.
Yes, I will. So how do I do that? I will shift the burden of development back to where it belongs, developers. I want to raise impact fees. I want to change the process for how tap fees are set into motion. But what we need to do is we need to think about what type of government do we want? Do we want government that spends our money on every little thing? Or do we want elected officials who, when they spend a dollar, they understand that it's not their dollar, but it's ours? So when I am elected, I will have a totally different approach to our budget, which has gone up 90% in the past 5 years. Our budget is $1.25 billion. That is disgraceful. We're only 230,000 people. But again, it shifts the burden to us when developers get a free pass.
Same question to Mrs. Amontri. Do you need the question repeated? Nope, that was just for introduction.
Okay, absolutely, I will commit to voting to lower the millage rate every single year that I am in office. That's something I did as a school board member, and as long as the property tax base here is growing exponentially like it has, we absolutely should be voting to lower the millage rate. The budget should not be growing faster than what your incomes are, than what the inflation rate is, than what the rate of population. My opponent has voted to raise the millage twice, keep the millage the same for 10 years. He's only voted twice to lower the millage rate. That's not acceptable. As property values go up, the millage rate should come down. I did that as a school board member, and I will commit to doing that again as a county commissioner.
Same question, Mr. Deutsch.
You know, when people run for office, they make all kinds of promises. And the promise I made was to work hard, to give it everything I have, and to do my best. And I've demonstrated that. I made the motion. I'm not saying I would do it. I'm not bragging about it. I made the motion to take $10 million out of our budget last budget hearing. I couldn't get any traction with it. They said, well, it's a good idea. Wait till next year. There are some good things in there. Well, we could do them in the future. It was time to cut the budget. I wanted our taxes this year to be less than they were last year. And I don't ever recall voting for a millage rate increase. We did keep the millage rate the same for a number of years in a row, but we haven't increased it. And I pledge, that's my plan. I will do that. If re-elected, I will fight to cut the budget. I found 10 million last year. We've got at least another 5 million we can take out of our county budget. I made the motion. I wanted to cut the water rates because I realized what was going on. I found the waste, I found the overspending, and the people of Charlotte County deserve better. That's what I did. I'm not promising that I'm gonna do walk on water and everything that many candidates do. Every day, I try my hardest, I do my best to represent you folks. None of the special interests, you folks. I'm there, I've proven it, my record has shown it, and I will not vote to support taxes. The only difference is I would support the penny tax, and we'll talk about it later, because it's actually the best buy you ever get in taxes. And I know the schools were excited about it because it made a difference to them, and it's probably the only decent tax thing I like, because about 25% of it comes from other places. Thank you.
Same question, Mr. Melton.
So, as an engineer, I fully appreciate the value of a dollar, and everybody's trying to maximize how long and how far that dollar can go. In general, right, no new taxes sounds like a great idea, and I pledge that I will look to not increase any of the burden on individual homeowners that are in the area. Obviously, I don't have the intimate experience, right? That's one of my strong suits that I'm bringing to this, is that I'm from the outside looking in. And so the intimate details of how the inner workings of the dollars and cents go, I'm hoping that my experience with value engineering from the commercial and private sector and bringing that fresh set of eyes into the budget will help us find ways to extend that dollar. So no new taxes, and in addition to that, when we do need to increase our money that comes into the county, the people who are gonna bear that burden are gonna be the developers, the people who come here to vacation, and those who are not year-round residents, right? And so we can do that through penny sales tax. You know, that's a consumer tax that hits everybody, including the people who come here vacationing. A little bit, you know, every people who live here do have to pay that tax, but I agree in the efficiency of the collection for that. So the goal is to minimize any potential increase in tax burden to the people who live here year-round. So I hesitate, again, because I'm a cautious individual, and I know that what I say matters. So I cannot pledge that there will be no new taxes, right? But I can pledge that I will value engineer the budget, and as a very last resort, put the tax burden on people who visit and people who develop first and foremost. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to question number 2. This one's a little longer, so I got my glasses. The Charlotte County Republican Executive Committee has recently broken long-standing tradition and RPOF, that's Republican Party of Florida, advice, by choosing to endorse one Republican candidate over another. Why do you agree or disagree with their decision? We'll start with Mrs. Amanchi.
Can you clarify, who did they say they're endorsing? Because I'm not aware of that.
So we're not talking about this race, but within the last year and a half, for more than one race, there's been endorsement. Republican against Republican.
So before I answer that question, I would like to circle back to one thing. I know it was a long time ago, Mr. Deutsch, but you voted to raise the millage in 2011 and 2013. And now on to the question about the RPOF and the Republican Executive Committee. When I started as a candidate in 2015, 2016, one of the things that I really appreciated as a Republican candidate is that it was made very clear to me that the Republican clubs, all of them, including this club, would stay neutral. And they really were. They really held that line of being neutral. Let the Republican voters make up their mind in the voting booth. They never endorsed. This is something new that happened, and what I would say is this last go-around, the 2024 election, where the REC did take a vote on every single person who was running, whether to endorse or not endorse, they weren't very successful, because guess what? The people who they wanted to endorse, all of them, except I think for 2, lost their elections. My take on this, I absolutely do not support endorsing before the primary. I think the Republican clubs and the Republican Executive Committee should stay neutral.
Mr. Deutsch.
Yeah, I've had an opportunity to be involved with several Republican clubs. I guess I can talk about and say that I'm a lifelong conservative Republican, and I believe in the direction that the Republican Party has talked about going and should go. In terms of endorsements, I've seen it done different ways in different communities, and I could probably argue either end. I could argue the plus end, saying, gee, it makes a good sense if a person is strong with the voters, if a person does really support those values, that they may not be. I don't think the Republican Party would really want to endorse someone who is a Republican in name only, a rhino. I think it's important that philosophically, if it's a political group, that they want to have candidates that would represent their point of view, and that goes to the committee people all across. I sort of want to hear what people have to say. I don't have a strong feeling on it either way. I would tend to think my record, my life experience, my dedication to conservative Republican values probably would give me an edge, so I'd say, yeah, I'd like to see it. But I'd be willing to leave that up to the group to make the decision, because for the 20 plus years that I've been involved in government, in the community, with the parties, I've seen them do it both ways, and it's worked both ways. So I think it's pretty much the executive committee decision and their members where they want to go. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to apologize to Mr. Melton, because I wasn't planning on throwing this question to you. I had a different question for you.
Okay, that's fine. I'll answer any questions.
All right, you can answer this
I
one.
do have an opinion about this. I think I actually
Sounds
know.
good.
Yeah. So I think I actually know one of the races that you're mentioning. I'm not going to be specific about it on the microphone here, but if anybody wants information about it, talk to me afterwards, and just want to make sure I have the right one before I give out any information. But in general, I feel like that's a great example of why I'm running as no party affiliation. Like the people who vote should have a say in who the candidates are, right? And so we have closed primaries here in this state, and so running as a no party affiliation gives the rest of the county an opportunity, who's not registered Republican, to have a say before the general election. Because if you run in a county that's as heavily one-sided as we are, the races tend to get decided during the primary, and if you're not aware of that, then you miss your chance, and I feel like that's a huge disservice. And so, hell or high water, I am going to be a candidate on the general election, and so I just think it's fair to the rest of the county who otherwise would not get a choice there. And so, the idea that a state organization or state level organization gets to dictate, what the rest of the state, who they get to choose from way before the primary it's a clear problem, and it's exactly why the two-party system is actively failing us. And so I hope that we remember that, right, as we go and vote. So thank you very much. I'll answer the second question too if you want.
All right, Mr. Fleming, same question.
Okay. Since I've not been involved in any clubs or anything for a full year, I would say philosophically, if the club has rules and you're not supposed to endorse, I'd be fine with that. If what's more important to me are the individuals who sit at the tables. I'd rather have them make their decision. But as far as a blanket endorsement, I have heard that is not allowed, that there's some state rule or regulation. But I got no problem if no one endorses me. I care more about what you feel than what the club does or the party or whatever. I know there's a whole bunch of clubs. I know some are recognized, some aren't. I'm still trying to figure out all this stuff. I know there's a Republican Executive Club, but again, all honesty, I really rather have your endorsement than a group. Thank you.
Okay, the next question. We're going to Mr. Deutsch first this time. Next question is, many residents feel population growth is outpacing infrastructure capacity. If you agree, what would you do differently going forward? If you disagree, why?
Thank you. I do agree, and I think we've seen it, and I've demonstrated what I'm willing to do about it. Because while I support an individual's constitutional right to develop your own property, and that's one of the things that makes this country so great. We can own property. It's ours. And to some degree, as long as it's consistent with ordinances and local zoning, and the state doesn't stick their nose in as they continue to do, I think it's up to the local community. Specifically, let me give you a couple examples where I'm not just talking about it, I've done it. We have a project out on 17 up near the DeSoto border. They're approved for 6,000 units. They came to us, and it's a big piece of property, they came to us for another 2,000 units. I absolutely said I would oppose that. I didn't want the additional density. I want them to prove to me for the 6,000 units where the water's gonna come from for them to drink. I want to say how the electricity is going to get there and how they're going to get rid of their wastewater. And I've done that, and I've said that at a commission meeting time after time. And we only have 2 minutes, I'll give you another example. Buc-ee's. A lot of people love Buc-ee's. I've never been to one. I hear the food's pretty good, so I certainly would like to try it. But I didn't want it a couple hundred yards from the Peace River. It didn't belong there with 100 gas pumps for the day that one of those are going to fail and destroy our most precious natural resource. I voted against Buc-ee's. Hopefully, when they're done, because they are building it, I'll be able to get served. But I voted against it because I was wrong. I'm against increased density. I have continuously proposed that. It's important that we work to maintain the quality of our neighborhoods, our neighborhood identity, and we do reasonable development. I've been against increasing development units consistently. Thank you.
Mr. Melton, same question.
Thank you. Yeah, this is one of my biggest reasons for getting involved in the race, to be honest with you. My background in engineering and specifically DOT and wastewater or water management just makes me feel really like I can do a great job when it comes to this kind of stuff. But one of the other things that we definitely have to keep in mind is that a lot of people come to this county from other counties, and so not only do we have to be mindful of our own development, we have to be mindful of the development that happens immediately adjacent to us. And so one of the things that I definitely, as commissioner, would do is prevent the transfer of density units. I really have a bit of a problem with even lateral translations of density units because, again, as an engineer, I understand that one flood zone in another area might have the same technical flood zone as over in, say, Charlotte Harbor versus over in the Intercoastal Waterway. But those two are functionally different areas, and even though the flood zones are the same, they're not going to operate the same under storm conditions. And so those kind of additional technicalities, I feel like are really going to go far in that. How we project population growth, all of that stuff really needs to get a second and third eye on it. Because is it feeding back? I'm sorry. Because you only get one chance to do it right, and it costs a lot more money. Infrastructure in the future is always more expensive than infrastructure now, right? And so that's kind of like a way to think about it. Is it's never going to get any cheaper. I've been doing this for 15 years professionally, and 25 including my time as a laborer, and I don't think I've ever seen building prices go down a significant amount for a significant amount of time. Maybe little blips here and there, but. So just population growth of our own areas, but also in understanding how outside influences affect the watersheds that come to us is really important.
Mr. Fleming, same question.
I've been waiting for this for a while now. This is why I'm running. You're getting you're getting what the Burn Store area has already gotten. Look, the infrastructure is just not there. This is what they do. They approve first and they worry later. That is why you're gonna have to get to the voting booth. Look, I'm the only one standing in front of you who has a clear record, not of anti-development, but managing development. Please, go home, look up the Burnstall Corridor Coalition, and see what we were fighting. You're fighting it right now. Listen, the infrastructure's just not there. And it's not gonna be there because once you build, that's it. Look at what you're dealing with right now. You have erosion, they let them build. You have roads that are totally collapsing, they let them build. Okay? Look up this word, transfer of density. Okay? It allows developers to move units from one development to another. The Burn Store area was designed for 6,000 homes. As a result of transfer of density, you know what we're getting now? 11. How did that happen? Well, this is how this stuff goes. The first step in development, one, you meet with the planning department. Do you want to know what the planning department of Charlotte County used to be? A mother and a daughter. The daughter had a background in Japanese studies. Guess who got rid of her? Me. Now I'm telling you, I can't stress this enough. Please start focusing on this. Please. Our county is going to hell. Please.
Mrs. Amatri.
Thank you. So, do I think we have an issue with infrastructure? We absolutely have an issue with infrastructure. And the reason we have that issue is because all of the commissioners, including the one who's currently sitting in District 4, they have voted for every single large-scale development that has come forward, except for in the last year. Westport voted yes on. The Burnt Store Corridor, that was a prior commission. They voted yes on the Westport Corridor. Or on the Burnt Store Corridor. They voted yes on Westport, they voted yes for Sunseeker. They voted yes on the comprehensive plan. So everything that we are seeing right now is a result of the comprehensive plan. Everybody who's spoken up here about what needs to be done going forward in the future is absolutely right. The developers need to pay for their fair share. Growth needs to pay for itself. That has not been happening. If growth was paying for itself, we wouldn't be looking at Harborview Road and talking about it for a decade now, that it needs to be expanded to 4 lanes. I absolutely think that we do need to increase impact fees. They did just vote, 4 of the commissioners did vote to increase the connection fees. That absolutely needed to happen, so.
Okay, we're moving on to the 4th question. Much of Charlotte County is on a fixed income. With rising costs, residents are feeling financial pressure. What have you done or will you do to reduce the burden on taxpayers? Mr. Melton's first.
So this one hits kind of close to home too. I grew up with a single mother who fixed income was kind of the norm for me growing up. I take that mindset into my adulthood. I'm rather frugal. I build a lot myself because I feel like it's cheaper that way. It's more cost effective. You get a better product in the end if you're involved from the beginning until the end. And so, the question of reducing your tax burden implies a knowledge set that I just don't have access to yet. The inner workings of the budget of a commissioner, how they analyze those numbers specifically. I hope to gain that knowledge very quickly in the first few months of being the commissioner, and then applying the knowledge that I do have from my experience on how we extend the tax dollars that we do collect. And I mean, in a perfect world, I would love to say we could reduce tax burden, but what is more likely is a stagnation of tax burden. We can't take away money without figuring out how we're going to replace it. I believe that's irresponsible as a government official, because we need that money to have the county function. And so while I do agree that taxation needs to be controlled, because I'm a fiscal conservative by heart, the idea of somebody reaching into my pocket and taking my money that I'm working very hard to earn that money and have a family is repulsive at some level. But I also understand too, as a responsible person who loves to have a civilized society, that to some degree we need to pay for that organization. It doesn't just fall out of the sky. But our responsibility as members of the commission is to be as efficient as possible, and then not purposefully add to that burden knowingly. And perhaps maybe in the recent past, in the long past, the past commissions have been short-sighted on that particular item, and the burden has fallen on us as residents. So, thank you very much.
Mr. Fleming, same question.
Okay, here's some numbers. We're the second oldest county in the state. Okay, the only one older than us is Sumter County. 4 out of every 10 residents in this county live paycheck to paycheck. When the utility bills go up, you have to make a decision. The people who are on a fixed income are not going to get more money. As county commissioner, this is what I propose. I propose that during the budget session, residents have access to each of their county commissioners. Person I'm running against does not have constituent hours anymore. I would love to ask him that question if he's here, but he's not. So, you can meet with any county commissioner you want. But right now, the only thing you can do is go to a budget hearing, talk for 3 minutes, and sit down. Why don't we have our county commissioners have individual meetings with residents? Now, I've spoken to people on the campaign trail. I have residents in the Burnstall Lace community who are moving back to live with their children. I can only imagine what that does to them. They can't afford to live here, and they can't sell their homes. So what do? Look, we gotta focus on this. We're not gonna get any younger, I don't think. I got nothing against people who reach a certain age, but we have to help them. We shouldn't make it worse. Our county commissioners do not get in people's faces, like developers, to say, we can't do this. Like I told you, our budget is overrun because we let developers get away with murder. As a grassroots candidate, someone who's been involved working on the other side of the coin, I can tell you the coalition has had many meetings with people who just can't afford to live here. So if I'm county commissioner, I'll have a different approach to that.
So, this hits home when you talk about the burden facing our citizens, because I have been out knocking on doors, and I've had some personal conversations with people that it would break your heart if you heard the stories. Last week, I met a woman in her driveway. She's 80 years old. She told me that she had to borrow money to pay her property taxes. That's unacceptable to me. It should be unacceptable to everybody in this room. Our retirees deserve to live here with some dignity, not having to go to a food bank. Our working families, I'm in our schools every day, and I see the people who are living paycheck to paycheck. I see moms, single moms working 3 jobs to make ends meet. So what would I do to lower that burden? When I talk about lowering the millage rate, first I want to make something very clear when it comes to the budget. Our #1 job as public officials is to ensure the safety of our citizens. So we're not talking here about cutting public safety. I'm looking at 2 of our firefighters. Thank you for being here. They're the ones keeping us safe. They're the first ones to respond in an emergency, and I'm not talking about reducing that burden there. What I am saying is when Florida Tax Watch names your county 9 out of 67 county in terms of per capita taxes, that's not a top 10 list that I want to be on. I want to be on the top 10 for our beaches, not top 10 for per capita taxes. The county, over a 2-year period, hired 274 staff members, not including public safety. That's 1 staff person for every 41 people who moved here. I'm calling that we should have a hiring freeze on all non-essential personnel, bring in a third-party company to do an efficiency and effectiveness study, and benchmark our staffing levels against other counties. We did that at the school district, and we should do the same thing at the county. You, the citizens, deserve the answers. You do not deserve to be in the top 10 for per capita taxes.
Thank you. I think I'm the only one on the commission that technically is a senior citizen, so I identify with that group. And that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason I voted against the tax increase. That's part of the reason I voted against the water increase. That's part of the reason I tried to fight with people up in Tallahassee, because we are letting the electric company go crazy with raising our rates, because they're all the investors are allowed to make a great big profit. Those are real things. There are some things here that we can't control. John talked about being available. I'm available. I'm in my office every single morning, usually before 8 o'clock in the morning. There's some days, John, and I think you know it, I've met with 6 or 7 different people in one day. I encourage people to come into the office. I want to meet with them. I want to talk with them. It's important that I hear their concerns and try and deal with the challenges that they face. Our senior citizens have a major challenge they're facing because of what we've been doing with our rate increases. It's time we stop it. Yeah, we've added, you're right, we've added a whole bunch of employees, and when you're checking the record in your campaign research, you'll see, except for first responders, I voted against a number of them. In fact, about 3 or 4 years ago, they came with a bunch of about 15 new positions, and I voted against every single one of them. We've got to watch the budget, and we have to address it, because tell you, I may not look it, I'm a senior citizen, I identify with that group, and I think one of my priorities and one of our campaign priorities, and it's in our literature, is doing everything we can possibly do to protect the seniors in this community, that they can keep and maintain the quality of life that we've all dreamed about having. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the 5th question. And I do want to apologize for the karaoke in the other room. Every time somebody leaves our room, we hear it. Yeah, you can join it.
Don't stop believing.
5th question. How do you, or how will you, ensure you are representing residents rather than developers or special interests? And this one goes to Mr. Fleming first.
Simple. I helped co-found the largest community coalition in Southwest Florida. It's one of the most proudest things I ever did. Today, there are 11,000 residents who come together for a common purpose in the Bernstore area. That's all 13 communities from, if you drive down Bernstore Road, from Tamiami down to Pine Island. You have Punta Gorda represented, you have Charlotte, you have Lee, and you have Cape Coral. We were a counterbalance. Please, all of you, form community coalitions. That's how you get back into the game. What I've told people, as a New York City police detective, I've seen firsthand how government fails people. I worked in the Manhattan DA squad, and I've seen many people give up their life to come testify, and what I've seen is they've let them down. They've let them down. You should not be left down. Form groups, get together. When I tell the people in Bernstore, I tell them, the more people you put together, the more of a push you can do politically. I felt if we put 10,000 people in a room, county commissioners will listen to us. That's what I tell you you should do. Get together, you vote, you beat elections. Don't let the people who run our community, our county, don't give them a free pass. Please, this year, vote. I hope you vote for me. But listen, vote. Thank you.
So, you are my bosses. In this job, you have 235,000 bosses. I've done it as a school board member. I'm known as being the most accessible school board member. I'm out in our schools every single day, talking to parents, talking to students. I'm responsible not just to you, but I'm responsible for the children who haven't even been born yet, right? That's something that we haven't talked about. We talk about what life is like right now today in this county, but what is life gonna look like in 10 years? What's life gonna look like in 20 years? For some of you who were raised here, like Mr. Melton, I'm thinking about his children and what life is going to look like here for them. I intend on having monthly coffees. I intend on having a neighborhood representatives from each neighborhood to come to monthly advisory meetings with me. I often tell people, if your only opportunity to speak with the commissioners is 3 minutes at the podium, the day that it's being presented, you've already lost. The time to talk to your commissioners is months before that. So I do intend on doing that. It's the thing that I enjoy the most, is actually speaking with all of you and hearing what matters most to you.
I guess I approach this a little bit old-fashioned, and that's the way we run our campaign, and that's the way I do my activity in office. Let me give you an example. We're not going to try and buy an election. We're going to go out and earn an election. We went out and collected 2,500 signatures to get our name on the ballot. This past weekend, with the help of, I guess we had, 46 different volunteers, we went to another 2,500 homes. Personally, I had the opportunity to deal with over 60 different people on one-on-one basis, talking about their concerns, their needs, and where they want to see Charlotte County go. Not only that, I don't talk about it. I'm not going to make a promise of what I do. I do it every day. I'm in the office. I have never, ever refused to meet with anyone. Never, ever refused to meet with anyone over any issue, whether they supported me or didn't support me, because I feel I'm there to listen. I'm there to listen, to learn, and believe it or not, I can still grow by what I hear from my constituents, because from my heart and from my brain, my job is to serve you, the people of Charlotte County, to listen to what you have to say, and to the best of my ability, try and make that happen. Thank you.
So this one, actually, I think I'd have the most fun with, because it would give me an opportunity to come out and see groups of people in their neighborhoods. And so my answer to this would be, as a commissioner, I promise that, and I use that word very hesitantly, but I feel like it's easy for me to promise this, is that I will be coming to your communities regularly. We're going to figure out a way to formulate almost like a town hall schedule of some sort to stay connected, because the biggest problem is, and I see with this kind of stuff, is that working class families, their time is super precious, and so they need to know way in advance when they're going to have to schedule an opportunity to talk with their officials. And in addition to that too, I plan on being active on YouTube and things like that to help get the message out there. I'm a big radio fan, and I understand the power of local radio. I plan to be involved as much as possible with, as long as they'll let me, obviously, with those kind of avenues, newspapers and things like that. Those are the real assets when the storm strikes. I mean, it's happened to me twice now with Ian and with Milton. I'm listening to the radio when the power's out. That's my comfort zone, and so I'll lean on those types of assets and resources. This is the information age. The idea that the community can't correspond with their elected officials, to me, seems like a planned endeavor. There's no reason why. Like votes, online votes, things like that. As long as people know where to speak their mind, I guarantee they will speak their mind. And so just giving the community the opportunity to do that as often, as much as possible, I think is the most important thing. And as a commissioner, I will definitely do that.
Okay, moving on to the 6th question. Can you walk us through how you would approach a controversial vote on an issue that has residents divided? How would you go about doing that? Mrs. Amanchi first.
I'm glad you asked that question. I think what's important for these people to know, for all of you to know here in the room, is how your commissioners do make decisions, and to know when they're sitting up at there at the dais, you have some certainty about the framework of how they make a decision. We do take an oath to uphold the Constitution, the laws of the United States, and the laws in the state of Florida. So it starts with that. Is it in accordance with the law? When you talk to controversial development decisions, is it consistent with the comprehensive plan that was voted on in 2011? That's the second part of the decision. Third, you have to look at, if it's in accordance with those things, with the law, with the comprehensive plan, you're voting yes, or you're risking a lawsuit. Next, you're looking at, is this going to give us things that are going to benefit our community? And anybody, I have cards there in the back, you can look on my website, you know what I think that we need that is going to benefit this community. We need a hospital. We need attainable housing for people who work here. We need industry that is going to bring jobs. Those are the things that I am going to be voting in favor for. Is it going to protect our environment? So for example, Conservation Florida, that will be on the ballot in November of 2026. You will get to vote whether you want to put 0.2 mils toward a fund that will go to buy land that will be preserved forever. I'm urging everybody in this room to vote yes for that. I will be voting yes, because here's what I think about the development. People do have property rights. They have the right to own that property. They have the right to sell that property. If you don't want them to have that right, don't fight it, buy it. Buy that land, buy it through the Conservation Charlotte, preserve that land for future generations.
Over the past several years, we've had a number of controversial issues when the commission chambers are literally filled. I love to see that, and there hasn't been a time when people haven't shown up to that extent that I don't thank the people for coming out and sharing their opinion and letting us know how we feel. And I know my votes in virtually every single case has been responsive to the voices that I hear from the community. Because to me, that's what it's all about. That's why I make myself available. That's why I'm accessible. That's why I have people come in my office all the time. All the time. Every day I have appointments in my office. And whether it's a veteran, or a firefighter, a law enforcement, or a senior citizen, or even a developer. They all come in, I welcome them, I sit down and I talk to them, and I don't have any problem being very candid, and we have to sign disclosure sheets about how I feel and what I'll do. And I think it's important that we have to react to, be available, be accessible, and be accountable. Because the bottom line is we're accountable to you, the voters. And the way I take this job seriously, my job is not to represent the government. My job is to represent you, the people of Charlotte County. And that's what I work to do every single day. And everybody knows it. They know I'm there every day. They know if they pick up a phone, they can have an appointment, they can come in and see me. There are many cases where I've gone out because of accessibility, and I've seen them, and I've gone to their property. I've looked at the problem with the swale. I've looked at the problem with the stop sign, with the trees blocking the entrance to their driveway. This is what I do, because this is what the job is to me, to do my best job to represent you folks. Thank you.
Woo!
So this is another one where I feel like being no party affiliation kind of gives me a little bit of an advantage. I mean, I know a lot of the folks up here have spoken about voting with their heart and things like that, but at the end of the day, a lot of the money they get comes from the Republican Party, and if you don't, I can't say a lot, some of the money that they get comes from the Republican Party, and if you don't necessarily come to their aid when they need it, then maybe you don't get that money next year. And so as an independent candidate, I can say without a doubt that none of those types of influences or affiliations even exist with me. It's just not who I am as a person. And so now that aside, when it comes to other types of controversy, development jobs and things of that nature, Buc-ee's being a good example. I've had people ask me how I would have voted on that, and without having full access to the plans and specifications for their facility, I tend to lean on the side of a positive because from my understanding of an engineering point of view, I understand that it is next to a sensitive area, but modern day EPA gas tanks are perfectly acceptable. They rigorously tested, and so having an understanding in the maybe some of the nuts and bolts of quote unquote controversial issues can help eliminate some of that controversy and maybe replace it with understanding. Obviously, there are going to be people who are super passionate about environment, and that's their one big thing. And I kind of put myself in that category. But ultimately, too, at the end of the day, in serving the community, you have to consider things that might make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, and then dig down and research that, and really figure out if it's going to be good for the community or not, and not just something that is a hot button or controversial issues. And so I just kind of like back when I was a kid and my mom tried to get me to eat broccoli, and it was good for me to eat the broccoli long term, but it was a controversial issue at the time. And so if you just kind of frame it like that a little bit, it's amazing how you can maybe make some positive efforts there. So thank you very much.
Woo!
Want to know the first lesson I learned dealing with this county government? There's no transparency. You walk into a room, the deals are made, okay? Citizens come to these meetings, but the deal's been done. The money's been put on the table. Each side has been satisfied. You and I come in, we sit there, they look at us, we get up and we leave, okay? As a police detective, I learned firsthand with most of the investigations I did, especially with organized crime, by the time you get to talking to the person who you're about to arrest or to get them to come and become an informant, it's over with, okay? Other groups come in, they take and they influence them. We can't do anything about that until you put a grassroots candidate on that board. There is no simple denying. If you don't have transparency in government, you will lose every time. And we are losing. If your elected officials don't have accessibility, they are accountable to no one other than the people who put money in their pockets. We can't do that. They should be putting money in our pockets. They should be making our quality of life better. But we don't have that because we have no transparency. I've attended many meetings where commissioners have come in, they've told me one thing, we leave, we go to the town hall meeting, we go for the vote, and it's done. It's done. What are you gonna do? If you wanna do something, put a grassroots candidate on that board. He will make sure there is transparency. Guys, I'm a retired New York City police detective, okay? If you want transparency, I will make sure that I investigate that matter. I was a damn good detective, and I'll be a damn good commissioner.
All right, we went through 6 questions. I need to give everybody 2 minutes for their wrap-up, so I'm gonna call an audible, get a 7th question in, but you only get 1 minute to answer. 1 minute to answer. So question 7. We like breaking the rules. Which improvements would you push to better prepare Charlotte County for hurricanes? That was for hurricanes, if you didn't hear me. And Mr. Deutsch is first.
Boy, that's a tough one. I can tell you this, I've been involved in hurricanes all my life, particularly in the military and getting involved in doing search and rescue efforts. I think the biggest thing we can do, and in all honesty, Charlotte County does as good a job as I have ever seen anywhere in what we do with hurricane preparation. We try to educate the people, we try to get the word out, we have meetings, we have broadcasts, we invite them to come out because it's important that we know. The problem is, and I was a victim myself, the floods were coming a couple of years ago and I didn't want to believe it until I saw the water coming under the slider. And, you know, and that was frustrating because I wasn't the only one, there were many of us. But the biggest and best thing we do, and I think we continue to work to do it better, is to continue to educate the community, to tell them how serious a hurricane can be because we want to save lives. Thank you.
Okay, so one of the most important things that we can do to protect our community from hurricane damage is make sure that it has a nice, natural, robust breakwater between habitable areas and the surge from the Gulf. And so that really it heavily leans on proper infrastructure in the areas that are owned by the county, and then also development, leaning on them to make sure what they're putting in is robust and long-term. If not natural, then as hardy and robust as possible. In addition to that, which I think might help with water quality too, is maybe working with some of the water management districts in the area to help establish some, like reestablish some oyster bar breakwaters. There's been some research in the past that has suggested that recycling oysters can revitalize an estuary and an ecosystem. And so I've worked in the past in Tampa to put in breakwaters that help protect the Courtney Campbell Causeway, and so we could utilize some of that technology. That'd be a little bit more difficult. Permitting on that's a lot more tough, but the conversation can be had. And so those are the things. And then also making sure the evacuation route works to get out of here if necessary. So that's a big important thing too as well.
We got a hard infrastructure, the county does not put enough money toward that. The other thing is, we gotta realize, you can't build some places, okay? You can't have all the stuff going on in Minnesota Key. You gotta have understanding as to what can be built where. If it means we change our zoning things, then we gotta do it, we gotta change it. I'm not an expert in zoning, I'm not an expert in construction, but when I built my home in 2017, I sat down with my developer, my wife and I, she's in construction, and I asked him, make this the most hardened house on the block. Now, I spent extra money. My house has gone through 5 hurricanes. I haven't had one issue. Okay? The county should be able to do that. They have tons of engineers or whatever, but we just can't build every place. We need to harden our infrastructure. That's going to cost money, but it should come from the developers. Let them pay when they build something. So that's pretty much my answer. I believe me, I don't think you should have what's going on in Minnesota Key or whatever. That's crazy.
Okay, raise your hand if you've had to rebuild or almost rebuild your house after a hurricane. It is a traumatic experience. We lost our home in Hurricane Charlie, had to take it down to a slab and 3 walls. I'm gonna tell you, when we rebuilt it like a fortress. I'm not going through that again. As far as what the county can do, here's what I can tell you. Both Charlotte County government and Charlotte County Public Schools, here's what I tell people. Here's the good news. We are really good at hurricanes. We are really good at preparing for them and recovering afterwards. I mean, our schools after Hurricane Ian, we reopened every single school 3 weeks after Hurricane Ian. Had every single kid back in school with all 22 roofs that had to be replaced or repaired. As far as what we could do differently going forward in the future, well, I told you the good news. The good news is we're really good at it. Now I'm going to finish with the bad news. The bad news is the reason that we're good at it is because they keep coming. And I don't want to I'm not going to Monday quarterback what could have been done differently before, because that's the past. But I think going forward in the future, we have a lot of knowledge, and it is very important that we prepare our citizens for future hurricanes.
All right, there you have it. 7 questions, all their answers. We're going to give them each 2 minutes for closing statements, and then we'll wrap it up. So, 2 minutes each, starting with Mr. Fleming.
If you feel it's time for a new vision for this county, if you think we need fresh ideas, if you think that you want someone who has built himself up from the bottom to work with the top, look at grassroots, okay? Look at people who can build effective coalitions. That's how government should operate. That's what I'm most proud of. I think that for all of us, what we should do is we should see, okay, what's missing in this county? Who is the person who's running for office that can best fix that? Like I said, I bring public service, I bring law enforcement, I bring education, and I bring typical grassroots movement. I think that is a perfect thing. People who sit in government that sit there too long, they get too stale. They fall back to these things, well, that's how we do it. I think if you bring a new person in, and I think what benefits you is that new person wants to push the envelope. If I'm in, then I'm going to push that envelope. Thank you for listening to me.
I just cut him off at 1 minute, so he's going to go another minute.
Thank you. One more thing I would like to say though, is that if the residents of this county feel that the way we're going is good, there's always ways to improve what is good. And I think that putting people in public office who feel that is necessary, or that feel that's good. Don't just drop everything on the side. Don't vote for me because I'm new or I'm different. Vote for me because if you look at what I've been doing and you feel that's what's necessary, then I would love your vote. But most importantly, people who are grassroots, their background is this. They want to work with other people, they want to accept new ideas, and most importantly, they are doing it because they want to help the people. I don't want to get rich, I don't want to become someone's friend, unless if you're a resident. Thank you.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come out. I don't think you were obligated to invite a no party affiliation person to this, and so I definitely appreciate that opportunity. Second, I'm just going to reiterate, hometown person, strong roots here, technical background in engineering, water quality, development, all the things that this area needs, and I plan to use those skills to defend the area, not to help outsiders work the system. You know, these are technical documents that come through. They've got to be analyzed to make sure. I believe in one of the recent county commissioner meetings there was an exhibit that it didn't even show the right area. It was totally wrong. So you gotta be on your toes. I've worked for the public sector through DOT work and understand how contractors can manipulate bidding systems in their own favor. Constant change orders. We need to be diligent about who we're allowing do this work. If we're entertaining outside contractors, that'll help go a long way. Also, too, it might benefit the community as a whole in the long run. Again, to maybe look at bringing in some of this stuff in-house, it might help fill some of the voids in the short run, and also give avenue for internships for local folks to, you know, maybe get some heavy diesel mechanic work, fixing machinery that the county owns, and helping extend the lifetime there. Design work, you know, CAD work, things like that, or even just being a general laborer doing roofing on a school or something like that. You know, we can lean on outside contractors, but it's been my experience that they're going to make their money, and especially if they're one of these publicly owned construction firms, or God forbid, they're private equity. They're not going to do the best for you, right? People who live here, who own businesses here, they're going to be the ones who do the best work for you in the long run, because it's their community and it behooves them to do that. So. Again, I appreciate the opportunity. Look me up. I'm working 7 days a week, basically, out of my office in Spinnaker. Please stop by. Love to talk to you some more. So thanks again. Have a good night.
I'm going to stand up. First of all, I want to thank the club. This has really been great. John, excellent job. Thank you much. And thank you for doing this today. But I also want to thank you folks because you've been a great audience. You were polite, you're responsive, you're attentive, and we really want to thank you for that. I think I said that for all of us. We appreciate that and the opportunity to meet with you today. One of the things I'd like to point out, if you really want to take a good look, everyone can take a look at who contributes to who contributes to whose campaign. And you can see that now, very easy. Go on the SOE website and figure it out for yourself. You don't need any help from me to take a look at it. So look at the contributions. And I have to share with you, because in this wrap up, people ask me, why do I do this? Why do I put forth the effort? And maybe indirectly, it might even be a tiny bit selfish. But what really makes me feel good is when someone has a problem and I can help them, or I can ease that problem. That makes me feel good. And I guess that's sort of kind of in a degree what drives me and makes me do what I'm doing. I didn't make any promises up here because I didn't have to. I've been there for a number of years. I'm there every day. I may have made a decision I could have been better on occasion, but I am there every single day, 24 hours a day, because I've gotten phone calls during the hurricane at 2 in the morning and at 4 in the morning. And I can't always solve every problem, but the promise that I'll make to every one of you is the only promise that I've ever made when I've run for office, is to use my experience, my education, and my work ethic to try and do my best to serve you. Appreciate your support in 120 days from today. Thank you all for coming. Thank the club. Thank John. God bless you all.
Okay, I do want to thank all of you for being here tonight. It shows that you care deeply about this community and what the future looks like. You could be next door listening to karaoke, and you chose to come and listen to 4 politicians. There are only 2 candidates up here that are going to be in the District 4 Republican primary. And tonight I'm asking for your vote, and you have a choice to make. You have very clearly seen different visions. You have one that is to continue on the path that this county is on, one where our infrastructure is strained, the budget that went up 20% 2 years ago, that went up 14%. Or you have a choice to vote for the future. The person who has shown that she can get results on the school board. Every single promise I made in 2016, I have kept. I'm the person who is looking for what the future of this county looks like. I've proven that I can do it in the past, and I will do it again.
The wise are on.
And I really want to thank the people who are here who came out to support me. It has just been overwhelming, the amount of support that I have received across this community. Broad coalition, veterans, firefighters, retirees, students, people who went to school with my kids, people that I knew from 35 years ago, people who just met me when I knocked on their door have all come out to support me. I'm incredibly overwhelmed by that, and the promise that I will make to you is if I earn your vote, I will fight
When you were
every
Democrat in
single day
Massachusetts,
for
or-
every person in this county, from Inglewood to Punta Gorda. Thank you again all for being here.
All right, thank you everyone for attending, and drive safe on the way home. I hope you enjoyed it. You got to hear from everyone. And
John, great job tonight.